Well, we've got another talking technical, and thank you for all the requests. Because remember, without you guys, we haven't got a show. So it's nice to look at all the shares that you are interested in. And the first one that we've got today is Bruce. Bruce asked about Tiger Brands. He said to me, Frans, I like the share and I want to buy it, and he wants my view on it. Well, I think Bruce that you may be a little bit late to jump into, because look at this massive sell-off that we had from 250 all the way down to almost 200 rand. And I always call this a waterfall formation because it looks like a waterfall that falls off a cliff, and that usually trigger a lot of selling. But what we're seeing here now, it turned around here, and this little Arami candle with the doji and then the bullish candle actually gave a beautiful turnaround. But, Bruce, I think if you haven't got the stock by now, it's maybe a little bit late, unless you've got a long-term view on the stock. That's something different. But if you're more of a trader and you not getting it around, let's call it 206 rand, and it's now 217.25. I don't think that's such a good idea, because it's already about 5-6% up. But let's have a look at the long-term chart. Maybe there's an opportunity for you, because you didn't say in the email that you are interested in the long term or the short term. So let's have a look here. Well, the long term, it's a different story. Now look at this chart here. If I look at it, I just want to have a look at that and take that out. Here you are. Let's have a look. First of all, I think this trend line is still intact. That's right. This resistance line tells you that the trend is still clearly to the downside. But on the other hand, it's on the brink of turning around. And remember, this is now a weekly chart. Now, a weekly chart is always a chart that takes all the noise of the week away and only concentrate on the Friday close. Now, if I look at this chart, look at it, it's on the brink of breaking above, and that will break above 217.30 rand. Now, Bruce, if you are a long-term investor and you're keen on looking at Tiger Brands for the long term, I see what I call here a falling wedge. Now, a falling wedge usually triggers a beautiful relief rally. Now, if I look at this, this falling wedge started in 2018, and it worked all the way down to September 2019. Now, can you remember there was a lot of, almost you can say, inquests into Tiger Brands, and they had all the bad things about their food, and everybody is blaming each other, and that put Tiger Brands under immense pressure. But if I look at this now, on the 217.30, this on a weekly chart will trigger a buy, and my stop loss is nice and tight. It's 208 rand and 25 cents. So on a daily chart, I think you may be a little bit late. If you are a long-term investor, it's maybe time to stand closer, use that stop loss, and let's look at the targets to the top: 232.78, 241.98, and even as high as 247.49. And then this chart will not even show a proper turnaround. So Tiger Brands for the long term definitely looks like an opportunity. Well, let's look at the gold index, because I've had quite a few emails around gold, and everybody said, listen, can you maybe just have a look at gold, because I think a lot of traders and investors are still heavily invested in gold. And but what it me was, and I think I did show it to you 2 weeks ago, if I'm not right, sorry then, this is a massive Lampel formation built up from about May. And now we're seeing this pullback. And the first signal of a warning was when this little support broke. Let's just have a look here. There you are. There's the support. When this support gave at 2371, this index told us that we want to be more selling, and that some guys wants to lock in some profits. And the other thing is, this is just healthy, because no share or an index or anything can just go up in a straight line. And that's why we call a Lampel formation, because a Lampel formation, if you haven't got, say for instance you plant a pole at the back of your yard, and you don't put a good foundation, eventually the wind will just blow it over. And this is exactly that. This is a beautiful foundation. Yes, it triggered the rally. I think this last rally was just a little bit steep, and it had to pull back. Now let's have a look at the 40-week moving average, because That is holding another clue here. And the 40-week moving average on the JSE Gold Index, and remember once again, this is a weekly chart, it's not a daily chart. That 40-week moving average, let's have a look, there you are. See what happened. It actually rallied all the way above that 40-week moving average. And there's always a tendency, remember, if you've got a share or an index, it doesn't matter, even a currency, if it runs too far away from its 40-week moving average, you usually see a pullback. Because this 40-week moving average is always a nice guideline for the medium to the long-term investor. And if it rallies so far from it, it always gives us a little bit of a pullback. Let's have a look in the past. You can see exactly the same. When it rallied all the way up in 2016, it went too high. What happened? It came back all the way to that 40-week moving average. So for the guys that's interested in the long-term view on gold, I think it's still looking healthy for me. We needed to see a pullback. Then I had a request from said to me, Frans, can we maybe just look at Harmony? I think I missed the boat there. The first initial rally I missed, and I would like to know what to do now. Now, let's have a look at this. I mean, Harmony, of course, had one wonderful rally. I mean, can you believe it? From May 27, from 22.64. I mean, that's a couple of months ago. From 22.60 all the way up to about 60 Rand. That's a fantastic rally. Now, of course, it did give us now a pullback. And Cliff, what I look at here is, look at this. You can almost say a beautiful hammer candle, day before yesterday. And then yesterday you saw this little dragonfly doji. Now, that's usually positive. That tells you that the share maybe had a nice pullback. And I think if you missed out on the initial rally, and you want to maybe nibble, but just keep in mind the JSE Gold Index is still on the way down on the weekly chart, so don't go in too big, and don't think that it's going to give you maybe this massive rally, because remember, it had a massive rally already. So if it gets above 48.85, that will trigger my first buying signal, and there's maybe a sign of a tweezer bottom here. Now, a tweezer bottom is usually to tell us some informed investors see this level as a place where they can nibble and they are keen to buy there. And if you believe that they are right, then above this 48.85 is your opportunity to buy the stock and make use of a stop loss of 47 Rand and 9 cents. The targets to the top will be 51.10, 52.14, and I think it can maybe give us a beautiful relief bounce back to 52.81 if this relief bounce takes place. Well, we had another request, of course, and that was on Sasol. Now, Wilhelmine said she wants to know if she must hold or if she must sell Sasol. Now, that tells me that she maybe bought Sasol right at the bottom, because all the requests that we get nowadays, if we must hold or sell, especially on Sasol, Wilhelmine is probably a brilliant trader. And I mean, she got it right at the bottom. And I just want to take away that moving average first, because it's quite away from there. But Wilhelmine, I think if you've got the stock now, and it looks like she's got the stock, I think it's time to hold on to the stock. I mean, look what happened. From 580, it almost fell in a straight line. It gave us this beautiful bounce. It came back all the way, and now it's starting to build a little bit of a consolidation. And strangely enough, for long-term investors, the first sign of strength, and remember, this is not a buying signal, that will be the first sign of strength. So there's a lot of work for Sasol to almost win the confidence of investors back. Because what do we see here? We've seen this ugly head and shoulder. I just want to show you. Look what happened here. There was that head and shoulder. We showed it many a time on the show. There you are. There you are. I just want to draw the line in there from the neck, from the head to the neckline. And I just want to take it on all the way. What happened? It almost played out to the T. And I think this is now the first sign that Sasol is maybe finding its feet. And if you are keen on buying it, maybe wait if you are a long-term investor. Wait for this line to turn into a support, and that will be 290 Rand and 60 cents. Only then it will trigger a proper buying signal for the medium to the long-term investor. The stop loss will be 256.84. And remember, I showed you also when I worked on the chart earlier that the 40-week moving average is still a little bit away from here. Let's just show you, for those that maybe missed that. 40-week moving average. You see, there's the 40-week moving average all the way at this neckline, and that neckline is at around 385. That's where it was. So, guys, there's a lot of work for Sasol to do before investors will come back into it with a vengeance. So I will say I will maybe look at Sasol. I will only buy it if I'm a long-term investor there. And then for Wilmien, I think if you've got the stock, if you did buy it at the bottom, it's maybe time to sit on your hands and give it a little bit of a chance, because if this level breaks above this, let's call it 90 level, if that breaks, we can easily see Sasol going back all the way, and let's look at some levels. I mean, can you look at that? I mean, there's your first little bit of a resistance, 304.73, then another one, 309.44, that little blip there, 324.36, and it can even go as high as 337. That is about 50-60 rands from here. So Sasol, yes. If you've got it, Wilmien, hold on to it. If you are a new buyer and you want to buy it, wait for this resistance line to turn into a support. Make use of the stop loss that we're giving through. And I think maybe Sasol is maybe due for a little bit of a bounce, because it was hammered. I mean, I've seen the days, strong rand, weak rand, doesn't matter. It was just hammered. So for those guys that are interested in Sasol, it starts to look a little bit of interest to me. Well, let's kick off on another share.